Hello, welcome. My name is Traci Piltz. We're going to be chatting about starting the school year with WriteReader, some creative uses to help you get started with this wonderful tool that will help you create and help your students create in the classroom. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hold on 1 minute here. So again, we're chatting about back to school with WriteReader. I'll be sharing just some basics about getting started with WriteReader and some of the awesome features that maybe you don't know about in WriteReader to help you get started. If you have any questions as we're going along, please be sure to drop any questions that you have. Like I said, my name is Tracy. I'm located in Billings, Montana. I am a tech integration specialist. I get to help kindergarten through third grade teachers in our district and students in our district get started using technology in really fun, creative ways. One of my favorite tools to share is WriteReader, so I'm really happy to share about it today. There is a bit.ly here on these slides, bit.ly/back-to-school-WR, and the WR are capital. That will get you a copy of these slides if you'd like them to refer back to later. So what we're going to be chatting about today, our agenda, we'll just quickly look at what is WriteReader, getting started with WriteReader. I mentioned we'd look at a couple of features that maybe you're not aware of with WriteReader, the book templates, and a brand new feature called reading rooms. And then the last slides have some resources to get help and support if you need it. So first of all, what is WriteReader? You might be here because you're brand new and not even sure what this tool is, and it's something you just want to learn more about. So if you go to writereader.com, you can check it out, click around, learn a little bit more. WriteReader is a creative literacy tool. It allows students to create books. The books that they create have text, images, and audio. Students are able to really easily share WriteReader books. Something I really like about WriteReader is by default, all of the students can see their classmates' books on the bookshelf. So it makes it really easy to quickly publish these books and let students have an audience for what they're writing and they're creating. It also has some wonderful accessibility features. There's speech synthesis. So there are different areas within WriteReader where I can use as an educator, as an adult, I can use the tools to share helpful little pieces of feedback for my students that they can listen to. There's also a built-in tool where as they're typing, they can hear the letter sounds or they can have the words read to them to see if they're typing the sounds or the letters or the words that they're meaning to type. And then all of these books are really easily shareable via a link. If you know me, you know I love Seesaw. Everything that we do and make and create, we then share on Seesaw so that our classmates and our families can see what we make. So I really, really love how easy it is to just grab that share link, put it into Seesaw or whatever tool you use to share, and then those books are really accessible. I also just really like the simplicity of this tool. I think that there's enough in here to make it really interactive and engaging and creative, but simple enough that it's not overwhelming or distracting for our students. So here's just kind of a peek at what a WriteReader page looks like. When you're editing the pages, you'll notice that you can, of course, add text. You can add images. WriteReader has a wonderful image bank already loaded, and I might pop just kind of over into my WriteReader account really quickly. I have a class I just kind of used to play around in. My daughter named it Unicorns. So I'm just going to kind of click on one of these books really quickly and pretend I'm editing the book. Mostly here, I just want to get to a page where I could show you the image feature. So I'm going to click on that book page type. And when I click on the images, you'll notice that across the top here, there are all these categories. So there's sort of preloaded images in here. They're all copyright free, filtered images that students can select. You'll notice there's also a search tool, again, filtered using Pixabay images. Students can also take pictures with the camera, upload them right to WriteReader, or if they already have photos they'd like to use, they could just get into the onto their device, into their library, and upload them that way. So lots of different ways to add images. Again, I like that there's already these images selected that they could choose from in the library, and that the search feature is filtered. So I'm teaching them those good digital citizenship skills as well. They can add their voice to their pages. Number 4, this section here is for teachers to use. So as a teacher, I could add my own writing there. When I was in my kindergarten classroom, I would often have students write in their notebooks, and then I would walk around and conference with them. And as I was conferencing and talking to them about their writing, and they were reading to me what they had written, I would sometimes just make little notes on the page. Often it was just kind of to remember, you know, a lot of it in kindergarten was invented spelling, and I wanted to remember what they were writing about. I can use this educator text field in much the same way. I can go ahead as they're telling me what they're writing. I could add in that correct text. I think it's helpful notes for myself. For the parents, we can look at what the students are writing. Oh, they're always kind of mistaking, you know, this letter for this sound. I notice that now because I'm going through and I'm writing those notes in there. It's also helpful for students if they're misspelling a sight word or getting a particular letter wrong consistently. They can look at that educator writing, and they'll start making those connections between those words and those letters if they want to write. As far as feedback and support, again, there's that wonderful educator text feature. Here's sort of an example of what this might look like with our student writing at the top, and then the educator can come through and write that text there. You'll notice the speech feature over here on the right, so that students could then click on that button and have this read to them so that they can hear this being read to them. There's also a feedback tool. You'll notice here where there's that sort of red dot, that's showing that there is some feedback there for a student to listen to. What I love about the feedback tool is that it also has speech synthesis on it. So again, students can just click the button and they can listen to the feedback left in there by their teacher. We also have lots of audio support. So I had mentioned these really unique pieces that I think really, again, make this a fantastic tool, particularly for our young learners, our emergent writers who are just kind of grasping letters and sounds and those connections. These don't always have to be on. So of course, when students don't need these supports, these can be off. Older students, if they don't need these supports, they don't have to use them at all. But letter names and sounds, it will read words and sentences aloud. So as students are typing, they could have it read aloud to them and see if what they're typing makes sense. And then of course, the audio feedback and the educator text that they can listen to. I think WriteReader is just a fantastic tool to get our kids thinking, creating, writing, and reading. As an integration specialist, I feel really lucky. I get to go into lots of classrooms, help students get started with WriteReader. And I'm always just really excited by their excitement when they see this tool and they're able to just start writing. Sometimes they draft their work on paper and then type it into WriteReader. Sometimes they're just drafting it right in the tool itself, adding the images, adding their voice, publishing and reading one another's books. It really is a fantastic tool that gets them writing and sharing and just getting excited about that process. So if you're ready to get started with WriteReader, you can go to writereader.com and there's a little login tab up in the top right corner. Students and teachers log in the same space. One other thing I really love about WriteReader is that it's not an app. It's just a website. So whether you're on an iPad or other tablet or computer or Chromebook, you're just using it from a browser. This was particularly helpful for me when we were in remote learning last year. It was sometimes tricky to get apps pushed out. And so I really loved how simple it was, because I just had to get them the link and they could open up the browser and they could start writing. So I really loved this. So whether you're a student or a teacher, you're going to go to WriteReader.com. You can go directly to app.WriteReader.com if you want to go directly into the tool and begin logging in. So if you're a teacher, you'll go ahead and click on that little educator button there. And then you're just going to create your teacher account. You can create your account using email, or you can connect it to Google. You'll notice that there's Google and there's Google Classroom. If you use Google Classroom and you want to roster WriteReader by pulling in your class from Google Classroom, you're going to want to choose the Google Classroom login. So when you choose that, it will prompt you to connect it to your class or your account. You can then select which class, and basically then when your students come to their login page, they'll just say connect with Google Classroom and it will log them right in. So if you're using Google Classroom and want to roster it that way, be sure to choose Google Classroom. Otherwise, you're going to have your students log in using a username and a class code. So once you enter your email or connect to Google, it'll take you to a teacher dashboard. You're going to want to choose the users tab, and then you'll enter your students one at a time. The only required field here is the username. I usually just make it their name. So I just type in the students' names and add, student name, add, and just kind of go through the list. You'll notice on this user tab that you'll then have a class code. So what you'd want to share with your students would be the URL, app.writereader.com. You'll give them their username, which is typically just their name, and then you'll give them the class code, which is a really short, I think 4 or 5 letter code that they would enter, and then it will connect them to their class. I've done this, excuse me, with students of all ages, as young as kindergarten. They need a little bit of support at the first time or two, of course, as they do. But after that, they really are able to do this independently very easily. So again, here's our student login, app.writereader.com. They would click on the picture, or you could send them right to here with that /login student. It would take them right to the student page. If they're signing in with a username and class code, they would enter it here. If they're connecting with Google Classroom, they'll just click on that button, sign into their Google account, and be good to go. All right, we're going to chat about templates and these new reading rooms, which I'm super excited about. We can support students and really engage them in writing using the template library. An example of a template that you should be able to click on if you have this slide deck and you can use this in your own class is this back to school book template right here. The idea of a template is that it basically is just kind of providing a framework or a structure. I think these book templates really provide some inspiration. Maybe as a teacher, if you go in and search the templates and see some of these ideas, it might spark some ideas for yourself as well. The template library is free. You can click on template library from your teacher dashboard. You can filter and browse the template library. When you find one that you want to use, you can click on it and just click use in my class. I'm going to go ahead and I'm hesitant to come over here because my internet has been awfully slow today. So we'll see what happens. There we go, it loaded. So let's say I would like to use this particular template. I can open it. I can scroll through the pages to see what's in the template. If I like it, I can say use. And now it's going to be added to my bookshelf. What I really like is it opens here in edit mode. So I could go through and I could edit anything that I would like to edit about this template before I share it with my students. Once it's how I like it, I'm going to toggle on this template button. When I go back to my bookshelf here, when my students click on the plus sign to add a new book, you'll now notice that this template is available for them to choose from. So when they click on the plus sign to add a book, they could either start from scratch by choosing a book type, or they could choose one of the templates that are listed here. The book types that you see are a picture book, which is a large picture. The text would be vocabulary or labels, or our traditional book types, which will have more text and a smaller image on each page. Again, this shows how you can add templates to your classes. If you have multiple classes, you can select where you'd like them. You can also move templates from one class to another. So if you teach multiple classes and you have a template, you can kind of share that between classes. Making the templates available to students, again, just to show you, you would just toggle on the template button. When students click on this plus sign here, they would then see those templates available to them, and they would choose that and begin editing and writing their book. Another new feature are these reading rooms. So the reading rooms are kind of exciting as a new way to share WriteReader books. So I'm going to kind of pop back into my classroom really quickly. If your students have written a book, so I'm going to grab this one again, and you want to share this book, you could toggle on link sharing and then click on book link. Now I've got a shareable link. I could, again, post it into Seesaw, email it to Gabby's parents, however it is I'm sharing. It will allow anyone I share it with to view just this book. They don't have to log into WriteReader. They don't have access to any other books. They can see just this book. Now, if I want to share more than one book, in the past, I've had to get all of those separate links. Reading Room kind of solves that problem. This will allow you to sort of showcase a selection of books and share all of those books outside of the classroom. So let's say we all wrote, a STEM book about a project that we were doing, or we all wrote butterfly life cycle books. And I want to be able to share that as a collection. I could click on Reading Room. I could add a new reading room. So let's maybe say STEAM. We'll put our STEM books that we're creating. And then I could just go through and select whatever stories from the bookshelf that my students have written that I would like to be in this reading room. I'm going to now say add. It's created a URL for that reading room. When I copy it, I can paste it and share this wherever I'd like. Again, I could put this on Seesaw. I could publish it to a blog. I could email it. The users do not have to log in to view these. They don't have access to my class, but they do get to see this collection of books. So it would be a great way of sharing an entire selection of books with an audience. It might also be a nice way of creating a selection of books that you want particular students to read. Maybe for center time, you want them to read student created books, but you want to give them certain books to read. You could make reading rooms for different reading groups and put certain books in there. You as a teacher could make your own books. When I click here, I could make my own book. So I could make readers or books for my kids that I want them to read, and then put all of those books into a reading room. I could then paste that link somewhere, and they would just be able to access that particular selection of books. This is a new feature, and it's free. So it's available whether you're using premium WriteReader or free WriteReader, which is awesome. The last little bit I put in here are just some resources. When you go to the WriteReader website. If you click on the resource center, there are some little buttons. You can browse those template books. There's lots of writing prompts that correlate with that image bank to kind of spark some ideas of how to use those image banks to get your kids writing. You're going to find lesson plans, lots of blog posts with ideas and inspiration from teachers using WriteReader, information about writing stages. So lots and lots of resources to help you get started. You'll also find some quick start guides on this page. So if you click on this link, it will take you through the steps of setting up your classroom and getting started with your students. If you do have any questions, I put our Twitter information here, so you can reach out at any time directly to me with questions or to WriteReader. We also love when you share things that you and your students are creating. So if you create a reading room with some class books, we'd love for you to share the URL for that, tag WriteReader on Twitter, use the hashtag creative literacy. We'd love to see what you and your students are creating. So thank you for joining. Happy back to school.